So in the last video, I said that qualitative description is a methodological approach. So what's a methodological approach? And how does it relate to a research project you may want to conduct? In this video, I'm going to discuss both of these questions. Different methodological approaches aim to achieve different ends and/or are meant to be applied in specific circumstances. Other authors have referred to these methodological approaches as approaches to inquiry or strategies of inquiry. You can think of a methodological approach as a general template for conducting research projects focused on producing similar end products. For example, grounded theory is a methodological approach. Glaser and Strauss's original conception of grounded theory laid out how to develop a theory about a topic that reflects the data collected. You could follow that approach regardless of the topic you were exploring when aiming to develop a data-based theory. There are a range of methodological approaches to choose from. There are also various names given to them and variations in how they are described. So it's easy to get confused. Some common methodological approaches using qualitative data include action research, case studies, ethnography, interpretive description, interpretive interactionism, narrative inquiry, phenomenology, and of course, qualitative description. While there are general terms for these methodological approaches, different authors present their own accounts of them. Each author lays out how they think you should go about completing a project within a specific methodological approach. There can be a good deal of variation in the individual accounts given for the same methodological approach. For example, in accounts of grounded theory, there's a lot of variation between how Glaser and Strauss first present it, how Strauss and Corbin present it, and later how Charmez presents it. This variation, and sometimes even incompatibility, can cause confusion around what is really meant by a specific approach. We do not have definitive general accounts of each methodological approach. In adopting a specific approach, researchers rely on the account given by an individual author or combine aspects from different authors. In a previous video, I suggested that we think of a research project as a set of activities conducted to address a specified gap in our knowledge or understanding of a topic. We can think of a project's methodology as including all the choices around which activities to conduct for the project, including the rationale for these choices. In other words, your project methodology includes all your choices about how you're going to conduct your project and your thinking about why you made those choices. It is the researcher or the research team who is responsible for making all the methodological choices for their project and for being able to support their choices. The methodological approach a researcher selects for a project will have considerable influence, however, on the study's methodology, including around what the project aims to produce. In cooking, a recipe sets out all the steps that you need to follow to make a dish. You just need to follow the instructions exactly to make what you want. But a methodological approach is not a recipe. Because of the unique circumstances related to each project, no methodological approach can lay out all the activities you need to successfully complete a specific project. A methodological approach is not a recipe, it's more of a partial guide for a project. Other factors influencing the choices for a project's methodology will include other methodological resources, for example, articles on how to conduct interviews, the academic discipline you're working in, the existing academic literature about the topic, and the specific circumstances related to your own project. Other considerations will also impact your project's methodology and how you ultimately carry it out. Adopting a methodological approach lets people know the type of study you're conducting, including the type of results that you're likely to produce. It gives you good, but not complete guidance about how to plan and complete your study. It gives you resources to cite to support your methodological choices, and helps you identify studies that have adopted a similar methodological approach, which can give you further guidance and support for your methodological choices. But to be of assistance, A methodological approach a researcher selects must fit the subject matter, circumstances, and the research aims of their project. No methodological approach is always better than another. Like work tools, a methodological approach is more appropriate than another depending on its fit with your aims and the circumstances. If you need to cut a board, a saw is a good choice. If you want to hammer in a nail, a saw is not a good choice. Qualitative description is suited for projects which aim to produce a description of some aspect of our social world that do not aim to determine people's real subjective experiences, and generally work better in situations in which the researcher, participants, and audience for the work have some degree of shared reference. For example, for a study on an emergency department we completed, the researchers, participants, and likely audience of our finding could be assumed to have some shared understanding of what an emergency department is, why do people go there, that pain is something that's generally good to be treated quickly once you get to an emergency department, etc. There's nothing wrong with researchers rejecting either of these three conditions for a project. It's just that if they did, there's likely a more suitable methodological approach available for them to adopt and structure their methodology around. In the following video, I'll discuss the next part of my definition of qualitative description, aspects of our social world. Thanks for watching.